I will say though, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this. I know we touched on it a little bit ago, but I think that's I think that's one of like the biggest drawing things is like, even though it's obviously animation, even though it's about penguins, there's something really relatable about this movie. And not only that, I think it's really interesting too that we can see, I've talked to these boys like a little bit about this, but I think there's been a decline in like the way movies are made recently. And I know we talked about this a little bit ago. But yeah, there's like movies are no longer creative, I feel like. And I kind of just feel like movies are made now just to grab money from people. And if you have a catchy title and a catchy trailer, people are going to spend the money to go see it. And I feel like in the past, when this movie came out, and movies not like it, but movies produced during this time as well, I feel like it was less about getting money maybe. And I mean, obviously that's a big factor, but I feel like maybe that wasn't the biggest factor for making this movie. And I think that was something with the times too, where it wasn't really necessarily about making money, but it was about making creative content. I think that's definitely changed.
Well, didn't Steve mention earlier that like it was Sony's like second movie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like they probably were like, or knew like, all right, let's make some like good films. And now like the big studios, like we don't even need to make big films anymore.
Well, that's
good
the thing.
films.
They're already solidified. They've already made their fortune. So it's like they can just like keep producing like crappy
People
films.
are going to see them no matter what.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because like who else is going to make a movie? Like, and I think honestly, so if we go back to last week where we watched, or last episode, sorry, where we watched Hereditary, which is an A24 production. I think
that's a great company.
That's exactly. I think that's the new thing where like now you have to really look for those not smaller production companies, but like look for those like diamonds in the rough where you're no longer going to get really that great of a substance filled movie from somewhere like Universal or Sony even now because they've been around for so long. But like a studio such as A24,
bastards trying to take Spider-Man away from us.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I think it takes certain like companies to stick to the morals of creativity rather than falling into that hole of let's make money. You know.
SOS Cinema. Sorry, real quick. SOS Cinema, the only podcast where we can talk about corporate greed and penguins in the same episode.
Keep on watching. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of similar to how like you want movies to have like a single director too, like Star Wars with like who was his name? What was his name?
George
Lucas.
George Lucas. Like that was a creative film. It was like his world, his imagination. Then like now it's J.J. Abrams, but it's also a corporate like.
That was Jon Favreau now.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
J.J. Abrams did the first of the new trilogy, and I think the last one didn't.
Okay. I know that Jon Favreau did The Mandalorian. He could be doing the Disney Plus TV show.
What I'm saying is like it's not like just one guy's vision anymore. It's all like this corporate. Like everyone's kind of had these inputs. They probably have like
Disney.
Yeah, it's not some guy's creativity about a story that he like believes in. It's just like a bunch of people throwing together something that like they think will make money now. It's not like it's no one's like vision anymore.
And it's honestly kind of sad too because I feel like a lot of screenwriters who might be taking off in the industry or starting off that might not have as big of a pull or like clout around them. I feel like oftentimes if they have great scripts, their scripts will just get bought by these huge companies because they get like a flashy check and you're going to be like, yeah, I'm like, who isn't going to take a check for like a ton of money and the hopes of seeing your screenplay being put up on the screen. And I feel like for the most part, these big companies will buy like these genuinely good screenplays, screenwriting, and they'll just change them. They'll change them into something that it totally wasn't at the start. And it literally is all just to make money. And they can take something that's like super deep and they'll cut off huge chunks of it or like huge portions of it and just commercialize it kind of, you know?
Going off what you're saying, the movie Once Upon a Time in America, I think it was Sergio Leone's one of his final films. He had a 4-hour-long director's cut, and the studios this was in the 80s. They bought it, and they cut it down to like an hour and 30 or like maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
And it was genuinely like a horrible movie because it made no sense. Like he had
so much plot and substance.
Yeah, like he had it going. It wasn't a chronological movie, like kind of back in time. It was kind of like Tarantino movie before Tarantino, and they made it like chronological, which made it make not any sense. It didn't make any sense.
Right.
And that's just a perfect example of how, like, you just listen to the directors, the people who have the vision, they should make the movies.
Mm-hmm. And it's also interesting too, like, I don't know if they have that much to say, but especially nowadays too, I feel like if you look at the producers as well, there's like 18 different producers for every movie. And what the producers do is they kind of raise money for the movie on the front end, trying to get it out to production, so they can rack in the money. And I feel like when you have like that many producers, like you have that many like cooks in the kitchen, you have that many voices. And I know that the director has like the final say, final cut, but I mean like that's also a lot of like voices chirping in your ear too, being like, I have money invested in this. And you can 100%, these directors are definitely like facing the stress and burden of investors on the side being like, when is this movie going to be produced? When's it coming out? Cause like they sink like millions of dollars into it. And I think that's like the biggest issue too, is like so many people want to be a part of the big money. So they're willing to invest, but no one who invests is willing to wait the time for something good to actually be produced. And they'd rather some crappy movie be turned out quickly rather than maybe not even losing money. Cause if it's a great movie, you're going to be making money in the long run, but I guess losing money for a little bit to wait for a better production to be made, or putting even more money on top of what you've already like started with to get it the extra mile of where it needs to go. And yeah, I mean, like we've been saying, now I just feel like it's like, I don't know, if you invest like $2 million into it and someone's like, I need like 4 more like million. I know that's a lot, but like if you're already investing $2 million, you probably don't need to worry about money in that respect. And they're like, instead of being like thinking about it, being like, let's like work ways to get towards that goal. It's like, no, work with what you got and just get it produced. And I think that's where a lot of these movies fall off.
Yeah, definitely some artistic compensation at the top these days with all that, like you say, people pushing for movies to get put out before they can really think about what it would actually make like a good movie.
Kind of a different medium, but the video game Cyberpunk 2077, like that movie was like really hyped up, and it was not at all ready to be completed. Right. I mean, to be released, and the investors like, we got to get it out. We need to make the money. And because they did that, it completely flopped. I mean, I don't know like the actual numbers or anything, but
I mean, I know that for a fact. It had a lot of hype, like you're saying, and no like friends that I know of that have the game or like bought it when it like first came out still play it.
And that just shows the difference. Like the GTA series from Rockstar, like they give their games as much time as they need, and like, the fans are angry about it, but when they get the game, they love it. And that's the same thing how it should be for movies. Like they should just let the directors have all the resources they need and all the time and all the creativity, like creative, the strings to pull. Right. And then that's how you can make a great movie. And I feel like Surf's Up was so great because it was, I mean, I'm assuming.
They started production in 2002 and the movie came out in 2007.
Yeah, see, I feel like no movie like
5 whole years.
I feel like no movie really takes 5 years to be made anymore. It's maybe like 2-3 years tops.
I bet some do.
But also to that point,
I don't know too much about the industry, but
fair. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm also talking as an outsider.
Yeah, it takes a lot of planning to make a movie.
Definitely. And I won't knock that either, but I will say, going back to my previous rant about there not being that many good, or great produced movies.
Especially
recently.
kids movies.
Exactly.
They haven't came out with anything new for kids movies in the past.
But genuinely,
Toy Story 5, right?
No, they made 4.
Indiana Jones 5 coming out like 2022, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah. Really?
It's just in the works. I don't think it's actually going to happen.
Is Harrison Ford going to be in it?
Yeah, but he's like 80.
Isn't he?
So old.
I will say, I mean, Pixar's just been kind of getting deeper and deeper, but like Coco is one of the best.
Coco is freaking amazing. I love that movie.
That's an incredible.
It brings
movie.
tears to my eyes when I watch that.
That's what's so cool about Surf's Up is like it wasn't even connected to like Disney. It's not DreamWorks, so like not Nickelodeon either. It was just kind of like its own thing.
It was its own entity, yeah. It
was just this sick movie that nobody even remembers. Although I hope a lot of people from our generation remember Surf's Up. I haven't polled, but like if you're ever at a party with me, like don't bring up Surf's Up because I'm that kid. I'm at a party with 50 people. I want to sit and talk to you about Surf's Up, and I will for at least an hour.
Hell yeah.
PSA for anyone listening.
I wonder
if you want to talk about Surf's Up though, like I'm here.
Hell yeah, hit his lineup. I wonder if I mean it's too early right now because I feel like even though it was produced in 2007, I feel like not enough time's passed. And I don't even know if like animated films can really be considered this. Again, it's not enough time's passed. But I wonder if this will be one of those films where like eventually it'll be like a cult classic of the genre.
Definitely could be. It's its own genre.
Yeah, well, especially when you said it did so
mockumentary.
bad at the start, like, and now looking back on it, it's seen as like it's given the respect now in hindsight. I feel like that's what makes a cult classic too, right?
For sure.
So, I mean, it kind of fits those guidelines, which which is definitely interesting.
I thought this movie kind of changing subjects a little bit about like the themes of this movie. I thought it opened up an interesting discussion about how much a parent should encourage their children's dreams and how much they should like just be real with them and like you gotta make money, you gotta do something like responsible.
Right.
Because I think in this movie it was evident like the mother was like very, and the brother, they was like very dismissive about his dreams, and that's gotta have like some bad effects. Like I think it's you need a balance of like
Made him scrappy.
yeah. You need a balance of support and reality, I think.
I feel, if your dreams get crushed from the start, especially from your core that's supposed to be your support group from the start, you're definitely either not going to follow through with your dreams or you're going to find you'll definitely adapt. But I mean, it's harder if you don't got people backing you saying like, go for it, let's try it.
And another thing like with Cody is like, they actually do show it a couple times in the movie. Like, they'll ask him a question about his dad, and he's just like, yeah, and I don't really think about it, bro. Like, you can tell that he like definitely actually is affected by it.
No, yeah.
And that's probably like one of the things that leads like him to like his drive.
You know what's cool too, bringing that up and how you just said that, you could definitely tell like how it hurts him.
Yeah, like
his
it's
character.
real.
You know what's funny too is like we say this and it's literally an animation, and it's like we're saying this about animated characters, and I think that just speaks to like how great of like voice acting the voice actors did.
Yes.
Like one scene I really want to touch on is towards the end when Zeke saves Cody and they're on the surfboard coming back in, and Zeke's like, come on, you're not a pal or whatever, and you can literally
like,
hear like
me?
Zeke like huffing, like, and it sounds like he's actually like out of breath, like paddling, and it's like these are freaking voice actors doing that. For them to be able to like make it seem like they were actually the Penguins, I don't know, it was pretty impressive in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this movie like seemed so like kind of different than other cartoons. 'Cause I wonder if they use like more, because I think movies now are just completely on the computer digitalized. Do you think they use like models like for this? Like
Nah. I mean, like, I don't know, but that like I don't know exactly what it means, but like I said earlier, they captured like the actual physical camera operators, their movements.
That's kind of what I mean.
And they used that to like,
earlier.
put it
And
to
you were
that.
saying this is no CGI. This is before CGI, right?
No,
I was making a joke.
Oh, you were. Wait, CGI just all
Yeah, they're actors. The Penguins were actors in this movie.
No, but you know how like obviously they did like drawings back in the day and like paintings of cartoons. It wasn't like animated, but is CGI just like all that animated process? Is that what that basically means?
Yeah, it's like I think it's just digitalized images. I'm pretty sure.
Another thing with how great the acting is. Another thing I found out just like today, almost all of the interviews that they do in the movie, like when they sit the people down and ask them questions, they had the actors improv that. Like, they didn't know the questions going in. It was just like they asked them the questions and they answered really.
Okay.
Obviously in character, but like that's I really like that.
It felt really real.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's another touch to make it seem like, I don't know. Yeah. They did a really great job just making this movie very relatable, especially for Penguins.
Check out SOS Cinema on all podcasting platforms for access to all episodes.